Oscar Piastri is not playing around, man. He executed a flawless weekend. Lando was busy downplaying McLaren's advantage all week. Meanwhile, Oscar just turned up, got pole, won the race, and refused to elaborate. Bahrain is a rear limited circuit with a highly abrasive track surface. Given the McLaren's dominance through low to medium speed corners, incredible traction on exits, and bulletproof tyre degradation, the combination couldn't have been more perfect. Throughout practice, they were in a different stratosphere. And that dominance continued through to qualifying, where Piastri secured his second pole position in the first 4 races of the season. The first time a McLaren driver has done that since Lewis Hamilton in 2012. His lap was spectacular, and he seems to really be coming into his own this year. Qualifying has been a weakness of his in the past couple of seasons, so to see this level of improvement from him is very encouraging for his prospects of competing for the title this year. He delivered the goods when it mattered most. Meanwhile, his teammate... You know what, I'm not even going to troll this time, because this post-quali interview from him, he just looked depressed. I'm very tempted to make a separate video about this, but Lando just seems too fragile mentally. In terms of the lap itself, I mean, it was just messy. First corner, he's lighting up the rear tyres on exit and about 2 tenths down in sector 1 alone. And after that, he just couldn't recover any of that time. Throughout the weekend, he was struggling for pace relative to his teammate, consistently on the back foot. And in qualifying, that wheel spin out of the first corner seemed like a bit of desperation to me. He also wasn't as good as Piastri through turns 8 and 10, where he also lost a significant amount of time, highlighting that he just wasn't that confident in the car despite it being the fastest. No excuses, of course, he should have been on the front row at least, but the smallest mistakes make the biggest difference in today's F1. Now, Lando initially got an amazing start, already made his way up to third, got a 5-second penalty for a false start. McLaren then limited the impact of the penalty by stopping Norris earlier, then they benefited from a free stop under the safety car, so it was just a straight fight between him, Leclerc, and Russell for P2. Piastri was just in another league, there was no way anyone was getting close to him. And for the next 23 laps, I don't even know how Norris struggled so much to get past. His racecraft genuinely concerns me, because he had the best tyre compound on, which was the medium, as opposed to Leclerc's hard and Russell's softs. He also had the superior car, so should have capitalized way earlier. Charles with the Ferrari barely had any pace, and George's electronics were tweaking out so much, the dashboard on his steering wheel decided it was done for the day. But even with all those problems, they still held Norris off for absolutely ages. Like, surely you know at this point, Leclerc's not going to give you any room on the outside. Could have been an easy McLaren 1-2, but anyway. Oscar in the same position would have been passed in a few laps. The guy doesn't waste any time. Winning the race by 15 seconds, he was genuinely in a class of 1. Hopefully he can keep this consistency up, because if Ferrari can't win and it solely comes down to McLaren, I'd rather see Piastri take the title. And just think about this for a second. I know you guys have seen Piastri's McDonald's hairline. Even though he's only 24 years old, he's already balding. It is what it is. Just like another young McLaren driver in 2008, whose hair also started receding. The dots are connecting. Oscar's on his way to his first championship. Now, Charles Leclerc is him around Bahrain. Nah, you know what? Scratch that. Charles Leclerc is just him, full stop. P3 in qualifying with the SF25. I used to pray for times like these. Then the Mercedes drivers got demoted by 1 place, so that became a front row. Oh, boy! And when I say Charles is actually a monster around Bahrain, I really mean it. First year in Ferrari, second race of the season. He dunked 3 tenths on his more experienced teammate and should have won the race had it not been for his engine issue. In 2020, on Sakir's shortened layout, he did such an extraordinary lap in the SF1000, one of the worst Ferrari cars in recent history, that he just decided to park it and watch the rest of the session from the pit lane. Because basically, there was nothing left on the table. 2021, another second row start, putting the car higher up the order than it should have been. And in the ground effect era, he has never been outside of the top 3. Pole in 2022, third in 2023, second in 2024. Man, someone needs to give this guy a good car, please. I can't wait to see what he has in store for races like Baku and Jeddah, where he goes absolutely berserk. But equally, I'm not looking forward to seeing how far behind Lewis is going to be. This regulation period just hasn't been kind to him in qualifying, because every time we get to Q3, he just cannot string a good lap together. The comparison between him and Leclerc's telemetry is very interesting, and it goes to show how much of a genius Charles really is, and that Lewis still needs more time to get fully to grips with his new machinery. So at the end of Sector 1, there's not much of a difference, a mere few hundredths. But as the lap progresses, you can just see that Leclerc carries higher minimum apex speeds and attacks the corners a lot more, particularly turns 8, 11 and 13, which is where Lewis loses most of his time. That's something that comes with being more comfortable and confident in the car. Charles was able to explore a lot more with setup and find a good window, whereas Lewis just seemed a bit too conservative. Both drivers started the race on the medium tyres, and initially I thought it was a bit of a weird strategy, but then the tyre offset they both had in the second stint made it all worthwhile. Then when the safety car was deployed, I was literally begging Ferrari to put on the soft tyres, but predictably, they brought out a fresh set of hards that really didn't switch on at any point. Leclerc did an incredible job to fend off Norris for as long as he did. His racecraft was elite. Hamilton got Lando with a restart but didn't have the pace to keep him behind, and both drivers came home in P4 and P5. Decent day at the office, don't think there was much more Ferrari could have done. One thing that's clear though, Lewis needs to improve his Saturdays. There's still a lot of adaptation that's yet to take place, but he's getting there bit by bit. With the floor upgrade brought this weekend, hopefully they found some decent performance that they can further extract in Jeddah. Now it's time for Mercedes. Antonelli keeps proving that his diamonds are 100% real. Some people were really sad enough to hate watching an 18-year-old, only for him to prove them completely wrong. P16 in Australia, P8 in China, P6 in Japan, and P4 in Bahrain qualifying. That's some very fast progress and can only mean one thing. P3 in Jeddah, P2 in Miami, and pole for his home race in Imola. The absolute scenes when he becomes the youngest pole sitter ever at his home race. Just wait till my boy finishes his exams and can focus solely on Formula 1. It's over for everyone. His lap was great, but there was definitely more on the table. Nonetheless, it's actually insane how quickly he's got up to speed. Just look at the way he's riding the curbs without a single care in the world. He thinks he's playing the F1 game. I mean, to be only a couple tenths off George, who put together a lap that was out of this world, was incredible. Shout out to Russell as well. His consistency to start the season has been amazing. Kimi initially didn't get the best start, but then bulldozed his way through the pack like a beast. And this move he pulled off on Verstappen was absolutely gorgeous. Broke a 4-time world champion's ankles in just his 4th ever race. This kid is the truth. Unfortunately though, he fell victim to some poor timing with the safety car and some L decision making by the Mercedes strategists. They pit and released him straight into a DRS train not once, but twice. Also, their choice of tyre selection was just baffling. Why would they put on softs when there was still like half the race left to run? Starting P5 and ending up P11 just didn't make any sense to me. But it was fun watching him just push like crazy every single lap. He doesn't have a single ounce of chill in his bones, and I'm here for every second of it. Now, can we all agree that George is a championship level driver now? I genuinely don't think I can name a single weekend where he didn't maximize the car. Maybe Japan, but that's about it. Today he finished higher than the W16 deserved to be. Add to that all the electronics issues he faced while driving at 200 miles an hour. Overall, he was just different gravy. His defense against Lando at turn 1 was extremely clever. I think he knew that Norris was on his final warning for track limits, so he bait him into an overtake on the outside, then closes the door completely to ruin Lando's momentum on the run up to turn 4, eliminating any threat of a pass on the last lap. Generational racecraft was being put on display by him, his teammate, and Leclerc. Apart from Piastri, George really was the standout performer of the weekend. And congrats to Red Bull on both cars making Q3 for the first time this season. But P7 and P10 ain't the positions to be in. This track just doesn't suit their car. High tyre deg was just one of their weaknesses. The car's balance through corners like turns 8, 10 and 11 was like watching a bus trying to turn. Add to that, Max having issues with his brakes, Yuki having problems with his car as well, but despite this, he still made it into Q3 and I think has been doing a great job so far. Him versus Lawson should never have been a debate. Franz Tost was right in saying you could give Lawson 100 years and he still wouldn't be as fast as Yuki. It's a simple decision. And even though the wording was brutal, he ain't lying. The car was off the pace and very tricky to drive. And yet still, Tsunoda was in the top 10. But Red Bull still do need upgrades desperately. They can't rely on scraping by every time. Max was having a bit of a nightmare, but somehow still found himself alongside Norris. In fact, starting alongside Verstappen was Norris's worst nightmare, since this guy with the eyes of a hawk picked up on Lando being out of position on the grid. Had the car been fast enough, he could have capitalized, but it just wasn't. In addition, Red Bull's lighting system in the pit lane was just bugging out, so both him and Tsunoda had slow stops. Max did get past Gasly in the end to take P6, which was the maximum he could have achieved. Yuki did very well to bring home some points, but overall, a disappointing day for them. But I do reckon Jeddah will be better. It's a more front limited circuit and only has a few heavy traction zones. So I'm expecting McLaren's advantage to be reduced by quite a bit and Max to get back into the fight at the front. Now on Saturday, Pierre Gasly produced his annual qualifying cook session. P5 on pace, P4 after penalties. I think we should all just come to expect that Pierre is that guy. Without him, Alpine would be in the mud. Doohan was impressive as well, to be fair, in P11. He was one of the ones who got unlucky with the safety car timing, so dropped down to 15th, but Gasly was on another planet. He spent ages holding off Verstappen. If only he could have maintained it for one more lap. That would have been so good. But anyway, it's so funny how on one random weekend, Alpine decided to become one of the fastest cars on the grid. And having a driver like Pierre be able to deliver on the car's potential is priceless. The team has now entered the scoreboard in the Constructors' Championship. Previously, they didn't have a single point, but are now level with Kik Sauber. Kudos to Gasly. Doohan has some improvements to find, but at least his race wasn't as bad as Carlos Sainz. Honestly, after a great qualifying the previous day, I don't know why he just decided to turn into a complete menace on Sunday. This man was beefing with everyone all day long and came out of the wars with a DNF. While racing Sonoda, he sustained some pretty bad damage to his side pod and couldn't continue. Not his best day in the office, but once again, his teammate can't relate. Now, Alex Albon was eliminated in Q1 after getting caught out with traffic on his final run. But then, the FIA found out that Hülkenberg exceeded track limits on his final run, and it got deleted. 45 minutes after setting the lap time. This level of incompetence is actually getting hilarious at this point, because what do you mean it took that long? What were they doing all this time, bro? This is what you call sleeping on the job, because there's no way you man are serious. Alex should have been in Q2 had that lap been deleted in time. Then he could have at least had an opportunity to make it through to the final round. But I guess it happens. He managed to recover to P12 in the end, which was alright, but Williams will be hoping for more in the next race. Kick once again were just off the pace. The race was pretty rough for them as well. Hulk maximised finishing at 13th, but Bortoleto struggled a bit more in 19th. Hadjar continues to impress. P12 in qualifying, but only 50 milliseconds away from making it through to the top 10. Lawson had some issues with his DRS, meaning he got knocked out in Q1. His race performance was also pretty poor, receiving numerous penalties for on-track collisions. Hadjar had an okay race, but nothing special this weekend. The car pretty much just wasn't there for them. Aston Martin's fall-off actually has to be studied by philosophers. Like, what was happening to Alonso's steering wheel? They're still trying to copy Mercedes innovations from 2020 in big 2025, but he just let it go. It's over. Fernando got the most out of a car that seems like it's 9th fastest in the moment. The only car that's worse is the kick, and even that's debatable. There's been shouts of Max leaving Red Bull to go to Aston Martin recently, but on the basis of where this team currently stands, it doesn't seem like that much of an upgrade. 2026 will be completely different though, so let's see. Behrman didn't have the pace in qualifying, so instead, he decided to help out the Ferrari drivers by giving them a massive tow down the main straight. Ocon crashed at the start of Q2, and it made me think, this might be the most erratic car on the current grid. They finished last and second last in Australia, then got double points in China, then in Japan, Behrman was on it and Ocon was struggling, and this weekend, they were both kind of struggling together. But then on Sunday, they just happened to find amazing pace out of nowhere again. They pulled off a genius strategy as well, to be fair, but if you told me they would have had double points at the end of the race, I wouldn't have believed you. Behrman especially coming from last to P10. Ocon's recovery after the crash as well was brilliant. What could have been for Piastri had he not gone off in Australia? He would be leading the championship by quite some margin now. So far, he's looked the more controlled, composed, and consistent of the two McLaren drivers. We'll see how he does over the next couple of races, but he genuinely looks like a serious contender for the championship right now. Maintaining that consistency will be the most important part. It's one thing to win in dominant fashion on just a couple of weekends here and there, but it's a different thing entirely to do it week in and week out. Norris has a lot on his plate at the moment. Whatever's going on with his inconsistency, he needs to step up if he wants to become champion. Mercedes are hopefully a few upgrades away from bringing Russell into that conversation as well. Ferrari seem to be there or thereabouts, but it's still frustrating to see them just hovering around being the 3rd or 4th best car. I expect Red Bull to bounce back in Saudi Arabia, but if they want Max to win, they're going to need to up their game, because this weekend's execution just wasn't there. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts were on the race down in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you're new to get my latest videos in the future. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.